A day off today for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but tomorrow will start what can only be described as a gauntlet. These are the next 5 series for the Arizona Diamondbacks. At the New York Mets, at the Philadelphia Phillies, home again to take on the New York Mets, home for a 4-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and then a series out in San Francisco to take on the Giants. Mets, Phillies, Mets, Dodgers, Giants. 3 road series against the Mets, the Phillies, and the Giants. This is the first tough test that this team is going to face. We knew what everybody in baseball was signing up for, especially in the National League. You knew what you were signing up for. This was going to be a melee for 162 games. A constant battle. There weren't going to be a ton of weak spots that popped up on your schedule. In fact, if we took a step back before the season and we saw Braves, Mets, Phillies, Mets, Dodgers, Giants, you would say, man, add in those 3 games against Atlanta. Atlanta's off to a slow start this season, so that series took on a little bit of a different weight. But you have 2 division leaders, 3 playoff teams from a year ago, and your 2 chief rivals in the National League West. 2 division leaders in the Mets and the Giants that bookend this. 3 playoff teams from a year ago, the Mets, the Phillies, the Dodgers. And you're going to play 7 games of your next 16 against 2 of your chief rivals in the National League West. You finish up with 4 against the Dodgers and against the Giants. The first time you're going to see the Dodgers, the first time you're going to see Ohtani, the first time you're going to match up with that team that everybody all offseason long, all they could talk about was how great the Dodgers were, winning the World Series, going for a repeat. Your first chance to face them and see where you stand. This is the first serious test for this Diamondbacks team. This is a gauntlet. And oh, by the way, it doesn't get any easier because you're going to face the Dodgers a whole bunch more after this. You're going to face the Giants a whole bunch more after this. You haven't faced those teams in your division yet. You haven't faced the Padres yet. You've had a nice, somewhat easier start to the schedule than most, and now it gets started. And it is not coming at the best time. Concerns about the bullpen, concerns about Justin Martinez. You hopefully will get Ketel Marte back at some point during this 16-game stretch. And I hate to say this about a 16-game stretch in the beginning of May, but doesn't it feel like this is where we're going to learn about this team? Where we're going to learn if this team's in it for the long haul, despite their bullpen concerns, despite the injuries that have started to pile up for this team. Doesn't this feel like to everybody the 16 games where we're going to find out if this team belongs in the conversation with the Dodgers, with the Padres, with the Giants, who are off to excellent starts this season? This feels like the 16 games that you circle. And when it is over, we're going to be able to say one of 2 things. Diamondbacks rallied, they proved that they responded, or they proved that they belonged and responded, or we got a lot of questions about this team. Where do they go from here? Because they didn't show up against the Mets. They didn't show up against the Dodgers. They didn't show up against the Giants. Whatever the case may be. This feels like the pivotal moment of this season, even though we're only 28 games in. This feels like we're going to learn a ton about this baseball team. Without this, the team's just been kind of floating around, and we've all been saying it's early in the season. It's early in the season. Just let the season develop. Okay. Now you've got to show me that you belong against the Dodgers. I was the guy all offseason that said, I love what this team did. I think this team belongs. I think this team has an excellent rotation. I think this team can hang with the Dodgers. I think they're going to be the top wildcard team. I put my money where my mouth was when it came to our MLB predictions. So I, before the season, believed that this team could handle this 16-game stretch. Now that we're in it, now that we've seen the first 28 or so games, I don't feel as confident. But here is a chance for them to prove all of us wrong. And truthfully, if they come out of this stretch well on the other side, if they answer the bell here, won't this kind of let us breathe a little bit easier about the way this team is playing to start the season?
Oh, 100%. I think even knowing what we know now, before all of the injuries in the bullpen and everything that's happened, you would still circle these 16 games in March and say, hey, that's going to be a real kind of week there where the D-backs are going to have to prove it. And it's about traveling to the East Coast and having to play at Citi Field and having to play at Citizens Bank Park and then coming home and getting your division rivals. You got the Dodgers, and then you got to go out to the Bay. One, that's a lot of travel.
Mm-hmm.
But two, to be those four teams, and I think we wouldn't have talked about San Francisco maybe 4 weeks ago like we do now.
They're atop the division.
But they're a good team who's atop of the division, and they continue to fight night in and night out.
Did you see the way the Giants won yesterday?
Yeah, it was awesome.
Did you see Ramos with the Little League walk-off home run?
It was awesome. I wasn't rooting for them by any means, but it was awesome.
The Texas Rangers were throwing the ball around like it was a Little League game on a Saturday yesterday. Or was it Saturday that this happened, or was it Sunday? It was one day over the weekend where the Giants walked it off. Ramos had a Little League home run. He hit a ball.
That was yesterday.
On the middle of the infield. Didn't even leave the infield. The Rangers threw it around the diamond. Just threw it all over the place. And Ramos pulled into second base. Was gearing down and then realized where the ball was and took off. Then they threw the ball to third. It got away then, and then he was able to score. Just when things are going your way, things are going your way. And that was one of those days where things were going the way of the Giants, who right now lead the NL West. This is, if they come out of this 16-game stretch and they answer the call against enough of these teams, right? And to your point, there's a lot of travel involved with this. And this 3-road series against the Mets, the Phillies, and the Giants. And on the road, I don't think you're expecting to win 2 out of 3, or you're expecting to win the series. You're just expecting to not get swept, to be competitive, to hang around. I think there's a world where this team can come out of the other side of this and can make us feel better about our concerns with the bullpen, can make us feel better about our concerns with some of the defensive mistakes that this team is making, with the lack of offensive production from the bottom part of the lineup, although Eugenio Suarez, 4-home-run day the other day. So feels like maybe they're turning around a little bit offensively. There is a pathway for us to get to the other side of this 16-game stretch and feel better about this baseball team. The worry that I have is the Mets are no slouch. The Phillies are not going to roll over easily. The Dodgers, the Giants, you're going to be in close ball games in the 7th, the 8th, the 9th inning. What do you need to get through those moments? You need a bullpen that you can trust. And our entire message today about this team is how concerned we are about this bullpen. And I'm here to tell you, I can predict it now. They're going to play 16 games, more than half of them. There's going to be some key bullpen decisions that Torey Lovullo is going to have to make. And you just have to hope that they're able to make the right decisions, that Justin Martinez gets his velocity back. And we're not dealing with an issue where he's got to sit down again, and you get some reinforcements and some of the guys that are down there in the bullpen begin to step up. That is going to be the thing that keeps this team afloat and allows them to potentially thrive during this 16-game stretch, because you can see a world where things go sideways. They continue to go downhill for this team during this stretch. And now we have all sorts of questions because Memorial Day is going to roll around. And that's really when you start to gauge where teams are at. Really important stretch starting tomorrow for the Arizona Diamondbacks.